Yes. Okay. And here, if you came before, I have shared a music here. After, if you want, I can put. I like it, and I wanted to share because it's a singer of this country, and I have put the same title that Eva told me is "Loving Living in Beautiful Budapest." We are going to see why later, and only I wanted to start only because in all destination it's better that we start. I wanted to check the situation COVID. I can see the link. You can see here is the Jacob coronavirus, and you can see, for example, now they are checking if you are vaccinated or not, and you see not a lot of difference. The rest is that okay, you don't have the quarantine and all this, but yes, you have already right now some tests. Eva can tell something more about this.
Hello, everybody, and I'm going to give you a little background of how I ended up living in Budapest. It's going to be 5 years now, well, coming on to 5 years in August. My mother and father are Hungarian, but I was born, they immigrated to Canada. I was born in Canada. However, when I was starting around the age of 13, I was traveling back to Hungary with my mother. This was in the darker days of under communist era. My grandmother was living here. She didn't want to immigrate to Canada. So my mother and I were traveling back every couple of years, and she really wanted to show me where she came from, because she was not really so keen on moving to Canada, but they left in 1956 actually. So much later on, she finally decided that it was time to travel back and forth. So as I was becoming adult, I really had sort of like a very strong feeling of visiting Hungary and being in Hungary with my grandmother. And it wasn't so free, of course, back then, but as years went by, I was feeling much more with my heart and my soul closer to being in Europe and the European life than I was in Toronto, Canada. But I was always still, even as a young adult, I was always thinking, okay, one day I will live in Europe. Because Hungary was under communism, so I didn't know or how that would be possible, but I had a life in Canada and met my husband, and my child was born, and we were, again, once my child was born, traveling back to Hungary. And my husband also was always wanting to live in Europe. He felt also more close to a European life. I know it sounds strange for Europeans who always want to be moving to the US or Canada, but for me, it was the opposite. So in 2015, my husband and I again traveled back to Europe, and we made, Budapest was our first stop. Then we went off to visit friends in Italy. And there was this miraculous intuition and feeling that I think it's time to make the move, because now it was 2015 and Hungary was showing signs of extraordinary opportunities. Tourism was just rising substantially. The city was full of life. And for me, being an entrepreneur, because I was working in real estate for many years in Canada. So as a real estate agent, I also found phenomenal opportunities in the real estate market. So we just decided to sell everything, make a move, and we moved to Hungary in 2016. So, but I do speak Hungarian, and my husband doesn't. It's not a problem, actually, in Hungary. Strange, because I found in Italy, less people, young people, speak English than in Hungary. In Hungary, actually, they do speak English. So it's not a problem if you want to try to live in Hungary for a year or so and you don't speak Hungarian. Perhaps in the very small village outside of Budapest, you may have a little problem. But in Budapest, it's not a problem speaking English and communicating in various industries. In fact, they're always looking for people who speak Hungarians are now being hired who also speak English, especially between the age of, in the 20s to 40s, 50s. So once people are in their 60s and over, maybe there's a little bit less English language. But so we purchased a property. We found that purchasing a property in the long run would be more valuable than renting. There is a lot of rental possibilities, and rental is still very reasonable in Budapest compared to other European cities. So, for example, in most European cities, it's about 5,000 or over per square meter euros. But in Hungary, you can get properties for less than 3,000 euros per square meter. It's very, very reasonable, again, compared to other European cities. So, and perhaps now, even during this whole pandemic and COVID and the suffering that people have lost Airbnb business, but when you own a property here, it's still reasonable to actually pay the maintenance, the maintenance of the property, the maintenance of the building, maintenance fee of a building and utilities. It's still doable compared to North America, where it's extraordinarily high, especially in Canada, to pay for condominium property maintenance and utilities. So here you can still survive even if you don't have any rental income from your Airbnb or your rental property. So there's lots of opportunity to rent. Of course, the further away you go from the center of Budapest, the more reasonable the rent can be. If anybody wants to come and try living in Hungary for 6 months or so, or a year, it's easy to find a rental property. Just a little tip, it's better to rent a property and make sure the owner will include all the utilities, everything, including the internet, the Wi-Fi, everything, because in Hungary you need an address card in order to go and connect the services like the internet or telephone. So that's one tip, that a rental rate should include everything, because it makes it a lot easier, because you need a residency card and an address card in order to hook up with all these utilities. So also the transportation around, well, especially in the center of Budapest, it's phenomenal. You can just walk everywhere, really. But even living outside, a little bit in the outskirts, the transportation is super. It's absolutely excellent. Right now, the number 3 metro is under construction, but that's not a big problem, because they have buses to replace it. But the metro should be finished in another year or so. So walking around Budapest is really the ultimate. You can easily walk around. Everything is in the Pest side. It's a very more flat and a lot more commercial, whereas on the Buda side, the part by the Buda is flat, but then you start to gradually go up the hill, and there's many beautiful villas and newly built villas too, and old architecture from the 1800s, new villas, old, and going up the hill, it does get less and less residential, but you'll find less and less, sort of in a sense, convenience, because as you get on the Buda side up the hill, you really do need a car. But even though there's good bus service there too, excellent bus service, but on the Pest side, it's a lot more transportation available, even if you live 20 minutes towards the outside of Budapest. But the Buda side is more green, you could say. So people who like quiet and they don't want to be in the hustle bustle party city, then they choose to live in Buda. And then people who likes very vibrancy and they like to be in the center of walking within every, 50 meters to a cafe, then people really love to live in Pest. And on the Pest side, you have a very great city life. The city life is incredible, with choice of no matter what your type of lifestyle. Even if you want a quiet life on the Pest side, that's okay too, because there's lots of neighborhoods that are quite quiet. But you also still have the opportunity to visit the museum, the art galleries, all the festivals. There are so many various festivals, from festivals to young, the super rock and huge festivals like Sziget, which attracted at one point, I believe in 2018, 400,000 people or something really crazy like that, which goes on for a whole week, but that's on a little island. So, and then to festivals of fabulous jazz towards the Lake Balaton, classical music festivals, folk, I mean, funky. It's just, music is just festivals array, especially of course in the summer. The theater as well is very diverse. So you have theater with the opera, you have theater with musicals, and you also have small, like sort of the off-Broadway, if people know the off-Broadway style, very small little theater. Movie theaters also in beautiful cinema, old cinemas. So there's an array of theaters, old and new. And of course, we even have a little district that was designated as a party, a very party, lively, and from the rest of Europe, the gossip and of course, it got out in the rumor that Budapest is a big party city, which is actually true. Hungarians are quite the entrepreneurs to come up with various themes of parties and bars and cafes and nightclubs, outdoor parties and parks. So yes, Budapest is for anybody in between, 16, 18 up to 50, 60 years old, there's a party for any type of lifestyle that you are looking for. So it is very lively. Of course, you can take a drive, not even 40 minutes away, 20 minutes away. Of course, also you can just go straight up to the Buda Hills and you are in very quiet, beautiful forests, hiking trails, many hiking trails. So you can escape from the city when it gets to be a little crowded and too busy in the summer, when you have so many young people coming here to party and just enjoy the festivals. But it's very easy to escape all that as well. And not only going even just 20 minutes up in the Buda Hills, really, there's so many hiking trails and parks. And speaking of parks, we have another beauty of Budapest is the large parks and parkland that we have around the city. Margit Sziget, which is in English Margaret Island, hosts a beautiful, one of the most famous swimming pools, actually, the spa, Széchenyi pool. That's in the city park. But the other Margit Híd, there's another pool called the Palatinus. So it's like almost every park has the spa pool. And for example, in the Margit Island,
you are frozen. It's okay? Yes, okay.
Sorry, with bars and cafe. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, it's okay now. Perfect.
Okay. So for example, in the Margit Island, Margit Sziget, the pool hosts 3-4 pools, thermal water, bars, cafe. The changing rooms are very easy. They're clean, no problem, showers, etc. It's a very lovely place to spend half a day. The children even have a separate pool, so they're not splashing around in the adult pools. And then the island itself has little cafes, and you can go walking and cycling. Most of the parks are like that. In the city park, which is called the Liget in the center, which is near the Hero Square, which extends back from the Hero Square. The pool there, which is the Széchenyi pool, a very famous one, also same thing, has the bar, the cafe, many little thermal pools inside, outside. It's very, very, again, a whole day. There's a zoo actually in the Liget Park, the city park. And the most fabulous is that right now there's a huge amount of building going on with the Music Museum and a couple of other museums that are absolutely extraordinary, which you can actually look it up on the internet. It's called Liget. I can always write it down and send the link. You can look at the construction and the music museum, which will have the roof where they preserve the trees, and the trees are growing out of the roof. Very unique. There'll be concerts there. There'll be teaching for children. It's really going to be a highlight of Hungary. Probably by the end of this year or early next year, it will be completed. So it's really quite extraordinary. So for families, it's wonderful. There's a lot to do for children. There's a lot of children's organized, again, festivals and playgrounds. One of Europe's biggest playground is also, which was completed last summer, in the Liget, the City Park. That's also fabulous. I can send some links to these places to visit if you
yes
like.
If you want, you can put during the video, you can put the link in the chat box if you want. We're going to make a break. We're going to share the video that you sent me, like that you can see something more about Budapest in image. Okay, I go here to the video, I come back, I put here.
Yeah, this is very nice. Yeah,
yes, and here I have found, this is the seat of Budapest. Yes, I put E is A, is We Love Budapest. This is, we can check later, it's a seat where you can find all these tips.
Yes, yeah. We Love Budapest is it's an excellent website, and they have it in English. And they do talk about everything that's going on in Budapest.
Okay, but if you want, we're going to see something of the Budapest in video, because it's better that an image is more important than all theory. You are going to understand now when you see the video. Okay, I am going to start here.
Yeah.
And I love you like no one ever loved anyone before. And I love you like no one ever loved anyone before. Is that your smile? Is that your style? Is that your legs wrapped around me tight? Is that your smile? Is that your style? Is that your legs wrapped around me tight? And I love you like no one ever loved anyone before. And I love you like no one ever loved anyone before. Is that your voice, so sweet of yours? Is that your hand I wanna hold so long? Is that your look? What's the hook? I can only say that this is so good. Is that your smile? Is that your style? Is that your legs wrapped around me tight? And I love you like no one ever loved anyone before. And I love you like no one ever loved anyone before. And I love you like no one ever loved anyone before. And I love you like no one ever loved anyone before. I know
you like me to talk about something in specific? Does
Yes,
somebody
of course.
have-
Go ahead after the video. Yes, tell me.
Okay. Well, it's really wonderful the way that Budapest is divided, you know, between Pest and Buda, and and then what is important from the culinary side, the food is fantastic. They have the goulash soup, the bean soup. I remember the bean soup. It's very special. They make it.
Yeah, that's a specialty in Hungary, yes.
And they have also the steak with. They put also the goose liver on it.
Yes, yes, yes.
goose
Goose
liver
liver is
and-
used a lot, yeah.
The wine is very, very interesting, very nice.
Mhm.
When I have been in the early 90s, there were not many people who speaks English. There were less than, I'm sure now there is a new generation, but at that time.
Yes, yes. Well,
was
speaking of
different.
wine, actually, the Balaton, which is the lake, which is 1.5 hours away from Budapest, this Balaton region around many areas, but especially in Balatonfüred, a part in Balatonfüred, which is very well traveled by even by tourists. There's a lot of vineyards, and the vineyards are all on a certain side of the Balaton. And the food, talk about the restaurants at the vineyards are really excellent. Really,
I'm sorry, I haven't been away from that far from Budapest, but as I was just in a trip, business trip, but it really, the wine is excellent, especially the red wines. They have
yes.
of red wines, they are very, very, very nice.
What is the tasting? Is more like Italian wine or more like Spanish or French? What is
No,
it?
Italian, they are different, even Spanish or Italian or French, each one has its own specialties, but I mean, depends on, I know, for instance, in Italy, they have a lot of wine, depends on the regions. Also in France,
Yes, yes.
each region has its own specialty, for instance. So the wines, it's a culture. The wine in general is a culture. So we cannot compare country to country with the wine. We can say you can enjoy a very excellent local wine when you are in Hungary.
Mhm. It's very light. I think
And when
Very light, I
when
think.
I
It's
travel,
like a
I go,
Codugona. Okay.
yeah.
it's lighter than in probably most other areas of Europe, I would say.
Actually, when you travel, it's better to try always the local wines, so you can get the culture. Because when you try the food and the local wines, you can get the culture of the country.
Yes, of
Yes,
course,
The
absolutely.
drinks, whatever.
Excuse me, I have someone that want to ask something. Lina, Panama, you want to you have asked to talk. You can open your micro.
Hi everyone, thank you very much. My
Yes.
name is Lina. I'm from Panama in Central America, and I would like to know if we have limited time for visiting Budapest, what we should not miss in the city. Thank you.
Well, if you only come for a few days, then definitely the spa with the thermal water, because it's very healing to the body and removes lots of toxicity. So there's a couple of, like I mentioned, spa pools that are actually in the parks. In the summer, they're outdoors, but in the winter, they are still indoors. There's also a hotel called the Gellert Hotel, which also has a spa, swimming pool, and thermal water, all included indoors. They have outside in the summer, but also in the winter, it's also indoor. So that's something that I highly recommend, because you feel really fantastic. It really does drain the you feel at night like your toxicity has been drained. The thermal waters work the body. I'd say just doing a lot of walking and viewing the architecture as you look up. But there are cafes and walking along the Danube, there are cafes and restaurants, you know, so many. So you can walk so much and really view the scenery, but also sit in cafes and restaurants. The city park, when the pandemic is over and those museums will be completed, the city park will definitely be a must, because it's by the Hero Square, which is a very famous square. Then you have the park with now the new museums, which will be ready in a year or so. So that will definitely be a must. And then in the Buda side, we have the castle district. The castle district is also very pretty to walk around. The art gallery, the National Art Gallery, is there, but I think it's moving soon. So these are just that's just like 3 days right there. And anywhere you walk, interestingly, in the Pest side, on the Pest side, anywhere you walk, you're going to walk into either a square, a great cafe. You can visit, there's modern cafes, but now from the entrepreneurs, the younger entrepreneurs, and then there's the more older established cafe like the Gerbeau. It's a very older cafe, older style classic cafe with beautiful cake, excellent cake. And the, which was the New York cafe, the New York Hotel. I think recently it changed name. It's now the NH Hotel, but the New York, it's still called the New York Cafe. It's just absolutely stunning. That's also a nice visit for a wonderful cake and coffee. So there are the two types of cafes, the more modern and of course the more classic.
Okay, I have one question more. I think that is Nidhi that want to ask something. You can open your micro, please.
Yeah, thank you. Is there a tip for vegetarians? A food tip for vegetarians in Budapest?
That's a very good question, because the Hungarians, you know, it's like the gentleman mentioned, it's like salt, sugar, and dough. And meat. But yes, there are now the younger generation Hungarians are definitely getting conscientious about their health, and Hungarians are not the most healthiest in Europe, that's for sure. So because of the meat and a lot of dairy, a lot of food has a lot of cuisine is dairy oriented. So there is, yes, there is. My daughter and myself, we know where to eat, where it's a little more on the vegetarian side. So yes, there is definitely choice. And there is a couple of, actually a few Indian restaurants with vegetarian, there's vegetarian, there's vegan. So yes, there is choice. And even on a Hungarian menu, you can find, as long as you're okay with a bit of dairy, you can find without food, without meat, yes. But it's a very, yes, the Hungarian cuisine is quite high fat if you're not careful. And it's almost like a deep fried pizza. It's a pizza dough in a sense, a little more salty, and they deep fry it. It's called langos. And then they spread garlic oil and sour cream and shavings of cheese on it. So this is something that's, it's very high fat, but the Hungarians love it. And ironically, they eat it at the beach. They eat it at the beach, which is really heavy food for the beach, but it seems to be, and they just like it. It's fast food. So. Perfect.
But thank you very much. If you want, I am going to switch now. Here, I have found this video. Sorry. Yes, with the top 10. I like very much this one. It's only to finish with the top 10 here in Budapest, with all the things that we have spoken. And after we can come back if you want to ask something. Yes, I have some question. Okay, perfect. Is that? Thank you, Lucia. We're going to see this video and we talk later. Wait, listen. I put here.
Parliament Building. Hungarian Parliament is the largest building in Hungary and the third largest parliament building in the world. Built in 1902 in the neo-Gothic style and located on the Danube River, it is probably the most notable and iconic building in Budapest. Apart from impressive architecture, the building was also an engineering marvel at the time of its construction. For instance, a special system was designed to cool the building during hot summers, where a big ice cube was placed in the basement of the building every day and cool air was sent through a complex ventilation system. You can visit the Parliament building with an organized tour and admire its impressive dome housing an over 900-year-old crown and learn more about the detailed architecture of this impressive building. Just be sure to purchase tickets online at least a couple of days before your visit, as they often run out. Don't forget to visit the nearby Danube Promenade and shoes on the Danube bank to honor the Jews who were killed during the World War II. Check out our travel guide for more information. Number 9. Thermal baths. Budapest is located over numerous thermal springs, and bathing has been a part of everyday life in the city since the Roman times. During the Turkish occupation, the tradition continued, and as a result, Budapest has several incredible baths. So much so that Budapest is actually nicknamed the City of Spas. Probably the most widely known, Széchenyi thermal bath is the largest medicinal bath in Europe and one of the largest spa complexes of its kind. Regardless of the season, jump in one of the outdoor pools and experience the positive effect of rich thermal springs. While Széchenyi thermal bath is for men and women all week, some other baths are open for men or women only, depending on the day of the week. There are many more amazing baths in Budapest. Check out our travel guide for more suggestions. Number 8. Széchenyi Chain Bridge. Chain Bridge was the first permanent bridge connecting Buda and Pest, the two areas of Budapest located on east and west bank of the Danube River. At the time of its construction in 1849, the bridge was an engineering wonder and was one of the largest bridges in the world. Cross the chain bridge and admire the engineering and architectural details, such as a pair of lions guarding the bridge from both entrances. Another great angle to see the chain bridge and explore Budapest in general is from the river. Embark on a sightseeing cruise of Budapest, or even take an inexpensive river bus version of public transport and enjoy the view. Number 7. Fishermans Bastion. The Fishermans Bastion is a monument overlooking Budapest from the Buda Castle and is one of the most important tourist attractions in the city. The monument, constructed in 1902, the same year as the Parliament, offers fantastic views of the city. The name for the monument comes from a group of fishermen who lived under the walls in what was called the Fish Town and defended the castle against invasions. Fisherman's Bastion features 7 towers and serves as an extension of the castle. Right behind the monument you will find impressive and beautifully restored Matthias Church, with special historic importance as it was a location of several prominent coronations of kings and a venue of other important historic events. There are many more impressive churches in Budapest, such as St. Stephen Basilica and others. Number 6. Buda Castle. Located just a few steps from the Fisherman's Bastion, on the castle hill there is the former Hungarian royal palace, the Buda Castle. The first castle was built there in the 13th century. The palace now houses museums and galleries, and the area surrounding the palace, known as the Castle Quarter, offers a wonderful insight into what life was like in the old days, with its well-preserved Baroque buildings, Castle Garden Bazaar, the medieval fortification, and other attractions. Check out our travel guide for more information. Located under the castle hill, you can visit the so-called Hospital in the Rock. And for an ultimate experience of the Buda Castle, take a funicular connecting the square in front of the chain bridge, or take a short hike to the top and enjoy the view. Number 5. Ruined Pups. Located in the former Jewish ghetto, you will find a collection of bars and pubs with a special character, the so-called ruin pubs. Ruin pubs are just that, pubs in the ruins. First started in early 2000s to bring life back into the ruins of the former Jewish ghetto, the first ruin pub, Simpla, quickly became a thing and others followed. Today it is almost impossible to imagine Budapest without the ruin pubs. Order a beer or a cocktail and sit in the bathtub, or find another interesting place like that, or just walk around and soak in the atmosphere. There are other interesting ruin pubs in Budapest. Check out our travel guide for more suggestions. Number 4. Citadela. Located on the top of Gellert Hill lies a former fortress, a citadel built in the mid-19th century for Austrian troops before the formation of the Austro-Hungary. Citadela is now a popular tourist spot with amazing views of Budapest and an open-air display of Soviet weapons. For a truly magical experience, you can visit Citadela at night, when all the main Budapest sites are light up. Don't forget to visit Liberty Statue from Soviet era, erected in 1947, which is also clearly seen from downtown Budapest. Number 3. House of Terror. You will certainly find a museum or an art gallery close to your heart somewhere in the city. One of the more interesting museums includes the House of Terror, a former seat of Hungarian Nazis and then later a seat of 2 communist terror organizations. House of Terror is now transformed into a museum dedicated to this dark era of Hungarian history. You can experience the terrors ordinary citizens had to endure during these dark times. Just be sure to pick the English audio guide at the beginning, because the majority of exhibits are only presented in Hungarian, except for long letter-sized description in English, which might take some time to get through. Don't miss the Berlin Wall Memorial in front of the House of Terror Museum. Budapest is also home to other impressive museums. Check out our travel guide for more suggestions. Number 2. Central Market Hall. What better way to discover Hungarian culture than through food? Central Market Hall is a 3-story food hall where you can experience all levels of Hungarian food production, from raw ingredients like the traditional paprika, wine, to prepare traditional dishes on the 2nd floor, as well as traditional souvenirs and other interesting merchandise. Central Market Hall was built in 1897 by the first mayor of Budapest to create a marketplace where only quality food could be sold, with a central location to serve the city. This impressive giant hall is located at the end of the famous shopping street Vasi Utca, and even if you're not hungry, a stroll along the kiosks is almost like you're traveling throughout different regions of Hungary. Number 1. City Park. City Park is the main public park in Budapest and home to impressive attractions and activities. The park offers a great escape from busy streets. You could literally spend an entire day there. The entrance to the park opens with the Heroes Square and the Millennium Monument, featuring 7 leaders of Hungarian tribes, along with other prominent leaders and memorial stone of heroes. Walk along the impressive Gatehouse Tower and admire the Yaki Chapel and Buda Castle, built in 1896 for the celebration of 1000 years of Hungary. The park also features an impressive ice rink, a lake, zoo and a botanical garden, and several other attractions. And of course, don't miss the Széchenyi thermal bath, which we already mentioned before. There are many other things to discover in Budapest. Check out our travel guide for more information.